I'm not perfect. I'm not the most assertive person. I still can't sometimes hold boundaries, but I'm working on it and I'm way better than 10 years ago. That's all I need to do, really. Just be better over time. It's not going to happen like this. That's what I said. It's over a long time. But what really matters is that you're going.
What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change, and that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others.
In case you missed it,
People who lose a loved one, there's a lot of comfort in keeping their memory alive and letting the world hear about them. That it's changed me. It's changed me. And I didn't know great until I saw others be it with me when I was in pain, and I just couldn't settle for just getting by.
available everywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Welcome back to the show, Impact Heroes. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to our latest iSpark Change social impact hero, and he is an interesting one indeed. Our guest today wants you to unlock your full potential as a leader and build stronger, more meaningful relationships, both personally and professionally. He has a passion for emotional intelligence, which is very important, which he has been studying for over 15 years. It's been an integral part of who he is. It's guided his interactions, his decisions, and it's ultimately enabled him to build deeper, more meaningful relationships and emerge as a successful leader in both the personal and professional spheres. He's a certified professional coactive coach and international associate certified coach, along with being trained in nonviolent communication. We will definitely dive into that. I promise you that. And it hasn't always been easy as he's faced difficult tragedies and challenges in his life, which helps him to relate to others. Through it all, he's harnessed the power of empathy, self-awareness, and effective communication, which has made him a better friend, leader, and communicator. We need a lot more of those in this world. I promise you that. He now helps people become tall enough to see past the obstacles and choose the right path for themselves. And that sounds amazing. I love the metaphor there. So please welcome the empathetic, authentic, and compassionate Nick Rion. Nick, welcome to the iSpark Change podcast.
Thank you very much. That's an amazing introduction. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I always want to honor my guests with the intro because they honor me by coming on the show, and so I feel it's my duty to let everyone know, all our listeners know how incredible you are.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, you're very welcome. So we had connected, I think, through social media, and then you had reached out about being on the show, and I've had people from all different areas as guests, and they all have the one common theme is that we consider them by the virtue of the work that they're doing or who they are in the world, or, their impact, that they are social impact heroes because someone who spreads positive change, someone whose actions have a positive effect on others and humanity in essence. And so we see you as a hero, but my question to you is, do you see yourself as a hero?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the definition of a term, right? If being a hero means having a positive impact on people, on society, then yeah, I guess you could call it that way. I don't go around and say I'm a hero, but yeah, absolutely. I think having a positive impact is definitely what I'm trying to do and doing my best really to do in my life. So yeah.
And I love the simplicity of your answer because, like you, most people don't just walk around calling themselves a hero. They think of a hero as being something in the in the comic book or movie sense of the word. And what we've uh, done for the past few years with iSpark Change is really try to show everyone that comes across our platform, that everyone can be a hero every day. That you don't have to fly through the sky or lift mountains. You just have to positively impact, like you
Mm,
said. And so that's right at the heart. What you just shared, Nick, is right at the heart of what we talk about every day
yeah.
on iSpark Change.
I think I think then there is a question, real question of should a hero have superpowers, right? And I think we all have superpowers. They're not what we what we would think they are, like flying or super strength or anything like that. But we all have superpowers. So in a way, if we employ them to having positive impact, then that's about it.
I agree completely. So, what would you say, Nick? What would you say is your greatest superpower?
The one that I use a lot in my job and in my life is to be with emotions. This is something I'm naturally good at. I also grew and I got kind of more skilled at it with the years of practice. But yeah, being with emotions, meaning if whatever people go through, I'm with them, and I'm very empathetic person. I'm a little bit of an empath. I don't know if you know what that means.
Hmm.
I really feel things entirely. If someone is angry, I feel the anger, and if someone is sad, I feel the sadness. But really, it's the presence that people. I usually get that feedback. People really feel that I'm here for them. So yeah, that's my superpower, I think.
And I'd say that's a fantastic superpower because we need more empathetic individuals in the world, and we need people to. We live in such a constant state of distraction that everyone is always on all the time. And what I mean by that is they're on alert. They're looking at their phone. They're not paying attention to. They're living in the past or the future. They're not paying attention to the present, right? And living in the
Mm.
present moment. And that's something that I've worked on myself because I realized a few years back that much of my life I was looking ahead. I was when I was young, I went to school very young. I graduated very early, younger than anyone in my class, and graduate university very early. And I wanted to finish school, and then I wanted to get out, and then I wanted to go to college, and then I wanted to get a job, and I wanted to get married, and all these things instead of trying to enjoy that particular moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I that's a big change that I had to make. And so you talk about, Nick, you talk about being present, and you mentioned empathetic, and how that's something that it's always been a superpower for you. So share with our listeners, our audience, where does that come from? Where do you feel that came from? Does that come from your upbringing, or was it something that you had inherently, or that you learned, or kind of share where that all started
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, I think there's two things. It's a temperament thing, definitely. Like I get that from my mother, from personality. I also get that from experience. I lost my mother when I was 12, so I was pretty young, and the rest of my family really is all the opposite in terms of communicating emotions, talking about feelings, and all that. It's the complete opposite. So for context, my family is a family of farmers. They're very close to the land, and in all those type of families, like talking about feelings is not always the easiest things for them. So I'm the one that feel everything and is very sensitive to that, and I can't talk about those things.
Mm.
So I had to, find a way to do it in another way, and understand instead without talking, you know and I got very sensitive to it thanks to that. But also, yeah, personality, definitely, because I love being with emotions. I think it's what makes us human. Someone that doesn't show emotion is harder to connect with, and someone that connects with someone that's going to have emotions, whatever they are. You
Hmm.
just come as you are. So yeah, that's my mode of connection. That's how I connect with people.
So one thing stood out, Nick, and thank you for sharing about that. And I imagine, like you said, at a young age to lose your mother, that would be challenging, especially if she was the driving force behind that emotional connection that you had, and your other family members were not,
Hmm.
in that same mentality. So how was that? How challenging was that for you to be in that environment where you're, in essence, just for lack of a better way to say it, you're kind of different from your other family members or the other ones around you, and so you you were able to learn from it and grow from it and develop a superpower from it.
Mm.
And it's not to sound comical, but in a lot of the superhero movies, it's always the hero that they start out as being a little different, or there's something unique about them.
Mm.
And so how challenging was that to be someone that was unique, and had gifts that others, didn't appreciate, or maybe they didn't
Mm.
understand.
Yeah, it was definitely a journey. But also because you don't understand what's happening in you. You don't understand why you're different. You don't understand why you're not connecting so much with others. All of a sudden, you feel very lonely, there's then there is your personality will play a very big role in that. Either you can go all the way to I'm me, I'm sensitive, I'm empathetic, and I will work with that, and I know that I'm unique, and I really embrace it. Or you can go, oh my god, I just want to be like everyone else and fit, right? I was the other one. I wanted to fit. That's that I was like, no, what's happening? I want to fit. I want to be like everyone else around me. So that means that for like about 10 years, I went the wrong way, in the sense of I just tried to change myself. And there were a lot of things I didn't understand about myself. And I just tried to fit. And then about 10 years after that, I was so far away from my values, and from I was avoiding conflicts. I was trying to be whoever other people wanted to be, and also particularly in relationships. And that just, to the point where I went into anxiety crisis and depression, because I just couldn't stand it anymore, right? And
Yeah.
that's where I realized, okay, wait a minute, that's probably not right. Then I'm someone that is very practical. If you fall sick, there's something you're doing wrong, right? So
Hmm.
that's how I played it, as okay, there's something I'm doing wrong. So from then on, about my 20s, I was like, okay, what is it then? And then I started researching. I learned about emotional intelligence. I learned about emotions, and how we deal with them. And that's where I started studying. That's where I started working on myself, which led me where I am.
I appreciate you sharing the journey, because it's with the instant gratification mentality that we have today, where everything is at your fingertips. You can order a meal and it comes to your door in 10 minutes, and download a show in 2 seconds, and everything, that people sometimes don't respect the journey and the work that goes into getting to where someone is at this point. They think that everything is just a overnight success, right? or
Mm.
or that it wasn't hard. It was just, oh, it's just easy. It's just easy to get to that point. But what you just explained, Nick, is that 10 years is a long time to to be kind of in that, well, I'll just use a biblical term, to be in that like valley of darkness, to be in that time where you're not the light of who you really are. You're not living as your one true self, and essentially living as someone else, if you
Mm.
will. So in that time, in that time, was there a moment that was it the depression or the anxiety kind of hitting a bottom point, or was there a moment that was that the light bulb moment, or were there a series of things? Because I think you'll you'll help individuals that are listening that right now are feeling that they're not being their authentic self, that they're not
Hmm.
being the best version, and that they're go, okay, well, how do I get out of it? And that's where I think people get stuck. I think
Yeah.
people get stuck, and that is either they figure that, well, I'm getting some acceptance, I'm getting some, love from others, so maybe this is okay. It's not doesn't feel the best, but I'm just going to stay here because
Yeah.
I feel something, or and so they don't really know how to get out of it. They don't really know how to move
Yeah. It's a, it's difficult. I don't think you need to, like, get to a point where you fall into depression or anxiety. I think you can react a lot before that. But the difficulty is what motivation you have to change.
Mhm.
My motivation is I was in pain. I wanted to get out of that pain, and I refused to take any other kind of way like medicine or all those things. I knew that it was something that I needed to change, right? So that was my drive, what was driving me behind but you can start earlier. If you really at some point you feel unhappy, you feel like something is not it something is wrong with your life, you're not fulfilled by what you're doing, or there's pain in your relationships and you feel like there's something that you could do better, then you can start here. There's two things. There is what drives you to change, and then how difficult is it to change, right?
Mhm.
But the second thing, it's we always think that it's more difficult than it actually is. The self talk of, oh yeah, but it's a lot of work. Oh, yeah, well, I need to do this, I need to do that. It's actually not that difficult. When you want to have healthy teeth, you brush your teeth 2 or 3 times a day. I don't know, 3 5 minutes. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to give advice, but about that, right? This is you do it. It's a habit. You do it and it's done, and you have technically normally healthy teeth. It's the same thing for change. It's just a something that you do constantly that you need to enjoy because it's part of a process. It's a process. It takes a long time. You need patience. I'm not perfect. I'm not the most assertive person. I still can't sometimes hold boundaries. I'm not but I'm working on it and I'm way better than 10 years ago. And
Mhm.
that's all I need to do, really. Just be better over time. So and it's not going to happen like this. That's what I said. It's over a long time. But what really matters is that you're going towards something better, right? This is
Mhm.
all what matters, really. What drives you? That keep that in mind and going towards something better, right? Always progressing, if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people miss going back to what I was saying about the instant gratification, they miss that they don't enjoy that progress. They don't see the results in the progress. And so that's where I think a lot of people get lost because, as you said, you're way better off. You're way better than you were 10 years ago. Right. And
Yes.
one of my mentors says that if you change, I believe it's just 1/10 of 1% every day, then in 10 years, you will have changed 1,000%. So if you
Mhm.
grow just by 1/10 of 1% in about 10 years, that's 1,000% growth. And you can see that in things like athletes when they're training for the Olympics or something like that, right? How they can become so fantastic in a certain sport as an example. And and what would you say to the person? So understanding that it's going to take time, and I know that, and I have the same mentality as you, that I'm just going to put in the work and do those daily habits, and have created number of different habits for myself that I know little
Mhm.
by little they make a difference. What what would you say to the individual that doesn't want to put in the work, that is it seems too big, that it seems too big for them, or it seems too difficult for them
Mm,
to change or to put in the work, and to just live with the status quo is okay. Because where I've encountered individuals that, I've coached and that I've come across, is that they get stuck in kind of that middle average area where things aren't bad, things aren't great, but they're just kind
mm,
of average. And I believe I lived there. I was successful in work, I had a nice house, everything, I had material possessions. But I think a key component, and tell me what you think, I think a key component is that fulfillment, is that purpose. And that's what it was for me. So what would you say to those individuals that they're kind of there, right? And
mm.
they it I think that's a tough place to be for people, because like you said, if you hit bottom, then okay, you have nowhere to go but up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's all up. But if you're already here and you're like, yeah, things are okay, and it could be in a relationship, it could be a
Mm,
job, it could be, in a hobby or something they
mm,
enjoy, where they could, flourish and just be phenomenal, and everything could be great. And that's what
yeah.
I had to learn is, wait, why should I be satisfied here when I could be here?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I used to be like when I had like 15 years ago when I got out of this situation and I saw myself, I saw the potential of progress in front of me. I was like, okay, I want to be best at this, at that, and I was really ambitious, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to be better, right? Then I realized that sometimes you put so much pressure on yourself that it might be counterproductive.
Hmm.
So now I'm more like, I believe that there's a balance, and that balance is different for everyone. So I think it's always good to look for something better than where you are now,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have to be, you know, like it doesn't have to be willing to be perfect or anything like that. It's just like getting a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah.
Now,
0.1%.
yeah, it's like, you know, sometimes probably like 10, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I wished I wanted to be like a speaker and be recognized by, people about a specific topic. But now I'm like, hey, maybe it's not that. I mean, it depends of how much work I want to put in there, right? But what I know though is when people are like this, they are like in the middle and they like, oh, it requires too much work. But the question that I ask is, if you look at yourself, like imagine you 10 years old, 10 years older than when you are now, or like you're at the end of your life, and you look at your life and you're like, what do you want to have achieved, and where do you want to be? Do you want to be where you know you are now at the moment? If that's the case, then don't change. But usually people are like, yeah, but I want to, be better at this, as that. Okay, so then let's start working on that, right?
Hmm.
Where do you want to be in X number of years? It doesn't have to be really well defined, but that kind of motivates people to put the effort, right?
Yeah, that
Um,
perspective, that different perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward, imagining who they would be, and then, okay, that motivates. And then, like, okay, I have a clear view of where I want to be. Now, how do I get there? No, we can work on that together, right? But often, it's also people think it's more work than it actually is, because it's creating a habit. Or yeah, I see we very often fatalistic. It's just life is like this. Life is unfair, and I'm like, I don't like. I'm not like that. You can choose, and so I can't have that fatalistic kind of mindset. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It totally makes sense. So where do you feel that purpose fits in? Because that was really important for me, and I touched on that. What would you say is your purpose? We talk about a hero being an acronym, and that's honors your purpose is the H. So where would you say that
Mm.
purpose fits in for you? that
Yeah.
fulfillment purpose part.
So I look at the world around me and I see a lot of struggle and a lot of pain when it comes to relationships and leadership and communication. And it's not difficult to have more awareness, self-management, self-regulation, self-care. It's not difficult to communicate effectively. You just need to learn, right?
Hmm.
And you're asking about my purpose. If I could just bring a bit more of self-awareness to people, help people being more self-aware and self-manage more easily, and they would be better. They would have less painful conflicts. They could communicate more effectively and more clearly, achieve what they want to achieve. They could build fulfilling relationships. A lot of that, everything kind of goes down from being self-aware and being able to self-manage your emotions. And I think, yeah, just bringing a bit more of that to the world, then that's all I really want to achieve.
That would be a lot of people need more of that for
Yeah.
sure. A lot of people need more of that. That was something I discovered probably, that or really started working on the self-awareness part was when I had gone through some trainings through when I was working in the corporate world and had gone through some trainings and that was a key component of it. And that would have been in my, oh, maybe my late 20s, early 30s. And it really has helped me, over the past, couple decades since then of really growing as an individual, having that self-awareness. Because if you're not aware, that, for example, for easy purposes for everyone, if someone is not aware that they're a jerk, then how can they start working on not being a jerk, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they're not even aware of it.
Yeah. I think it's as simple as are your behaviors aligned with your values? And in that case, what are your values? Right? It's
Hmm.
not only about emotions, it's about your values. What do you stand for? And are you really behaving according to that? And that's where fulfillment comes from, right? Behaving
Yeah,
in alignment to your values.
yeah, absolutely. So simple, so eloquent, and so simple. So I want to touch on, I don't want to miss this for purposes of time, but having the training in the nonviolent communication, right?
Hmm.
That empathy, that honesty, that compassion, in communication. So I have a degree in communication. I've been studying it, working on it for the past 30 plus years, and still continue to work on it daily. And I still tell my wife I still have a long way to go, in terms of my abilities, communicating. So what's a takeaway, something that our audience can learn, or something that they can work on when it comes to practicing some of those techniques?
Yeah, it's a very simple in theory and very hard in practice. It's very interesting. It really changed my world when I learned about this framework it was from a book written by Marshall Ruthenberg. You start with judgment. So, someone, yeah, I'll just take the words that you said earlier. This guy is a jerk, right? That's judgment. That's a judgmental statement. Then you move from that to how do I feel about it? What are the feeling that I'm having right now? You know?
Hmm.
So I'm frustrated. Okay. You go from this guy is a jerk to I'm frustrated. Then I'm frustrated. What is the need that is behind this feeling? I'm frustrated because I need this thing done pretty quickly. I'm under pressure. I have a need for support, for example.
Hmm.
See where I'm going? You're going from this guy is a jerk to I'm frustrated to I need support. How
Hmm.
do you communicate that? You make a request. I need support. I'm frustrated. I need support. How can you help me? Right? That's
Hmm.
that's the framework. Technically, there's more than that, obviously, But honestly, like moving from one step to the other, to like those 4 steps, is like when you learn how to do this, and it's really difficult to put in practice. But if you practice that every now and then with your partner, with your colleagues, with anyone you're in a relationship, personal or professional, you get better at it, right? It's
Hmm.
like brushing your teeth every day. And then when you get better at it, then it really it's a relief. So that's what I would give.
You were right. It is simple. All right. I mean, maybe difficult, maybe not easy for people to do or to learn or to practice, but it is simple. And I love how, you take the focus off of, you know, in essence, how you're feeling about the other individual to what you're needing and making that request, because that's a lot easier. I can see why it's aptly named non-violent communication, because that's a lot easier than to get into some reptilian brain confrontational dialogue with an individual, as opposed to hey, this is what could help me in this situation,
Yeah.
which is
And there is no, like, what we tend to do is we tend to judge ourselves for being judgmental, you
mhm,
know, but that's okay. It's human. We're all judgmental. We all judge, and it's okay. But I think what's important is to recognize it, to be
yeah.
aware of it, and then to move from that position.
Yeah. What do you do with it? Right? What do
Yeah,
you do with it? Right? Do you let
exactly.
it just, annoy you and cause that confrontation, or do you use it to, get to a better place of
Exactly.
communication? Yeah.
Exactly.
So simple. So how do you share with everyone, how do you typically, engage the audience in your mission? Obviously you do coaching, you do leadership, relationship coaching. I mean, what are some of the things that you normally do for
Yeah. I do a lot of coaching because I believe that coaching is the most sustainable way to change, to help change. So I give a lot of support to people with coaching. I do, a few podcasts like today, but I also do some seminars and webinars and workshops with groups, right? I like to just, as I said, my mission is just bring a bit more of awareness.
Mhm.
So just some workshops and seminars are very good for that too.
Fantastic. Well, we'll share any links that you have for any of those in the show notes, so people can, we can keep people, our audience, posted about that, so they can check out,
Absolutely,
learn,
absolutely,
become aware like yourself. Well, I thank you for opening your heart, sharing your message and your life's journey with our audience. So, a couple questions before we wrap up, because there's we always talk about the spark moments on this show, and those are those moments in life where our actions or another's actions have a ripple effect that go far beyond that initial act, and
hmm
those are things that will have an impact on us or the other individual for you know for oftentimes a lifetime, right? For can be for many years or a long time, or something that is life changing or a lifetime. So share an example of a spark moment, a story of a spark moment where someone impacted you or you impacted someone in a way that you didn't know it was going to have that impact right away, but then later on you saw that impact.
yeah. So I think that if there's one, I worked in change management for a little bit, so and that's where I learned a lot about conflict management and communication and all that, because obviously it's very important in that domain. And when I worked with that team of change management, they really had a big impact on me, on making me see a different a different way of interpreting what people would say
Mm,
or how people would behave. There's one thing that one day colleague told me is like, we we love our ideas with a lot of love, and it prevents us to listen. 'Cause sometimes we're really convinced about our ideas and we don't listen to others, right? That was really a spark moment. Yeah.
yeah, that's very wise. Very wise, what he shared with you. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that will impact someone as well and possibly be a spark moment for them. So, where's the best place for our audience to connect with you?
Yeah, so they can just go on my website and contact me in there. So it's nicolasrion.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and so as a social media. Yeah, and just I have also a bit of a framework for 10 habits of successful relationships, and that
Oh,
kind
nice.
of includes everything about emotional intelligence and mindset of relationships and things like that for personal and professional relationships. And it's free, it's downloadable on my website, so they can download that and have a look.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, we'll put that link as well. So, one final question, Nick, and thank you for being having a fantastic conversation. I know it's going to impact others for sure. So, one final question. So, our goal at iSpark Change is to positively impact 1 billion people within 5 years of launching our upcoming social impact, social media community, and through our work, right? And we know we can't do this alone. We need the help of impactful leaders, social impact heroes like yourself, to help show others the way, because many people feel, as I once did, that they're too small to make a difference. So we value your thoughts and opinions as a social impact hero. So I want you to peer into the future and into our crystal ball here and tell me, what can the world become if everyone starts having more self-awareness and believes that they can positively impact others?
Like being able to communicate and listen to a point that we all work as a community. Imagine we all work as a community, human beings, and we all work to help each other. That would be amazing.
Yeah, the utopian society, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Well, Nick, thank you for taking time today to share your heart and wisdom with our audience. You came in, you over delivered as I expected you would. Your desire to impact others is evident, and you're filled with passion, empathy, and you lead with a heart of service and gratitude, which tells me you will continue to have success in all facets of life. And this is only the beginning of your time as a social impact hero.
Thank you very much, Rick. Thanks for having me.
All right. Okay, Impact Heroes, it's our stories that connect us all, and we loved hearing Nick's today. Nick Rion, you're not only an inspiring and amazing human being, but you truly are an iSpark Chain's social impact hero. We'll see you all next time.
Do you want Rick to speak at your event? Here's what others have to say.
Did not know his story, and it was so inspirational, and his presence on stage, his authenticity was just incredible.
Performance made me feel some type of way. My name is Craig Siegel.
If you're looking for a speaker for your next event, hire Rick. I promise you this, you will not be disappointed.
Visit rickcornelis.com to book him today.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the iSpark Change podcast.